When everything we consume is the worst thing ever by some mouth breather on the internet, how is anything truly the worst thing ever? Time for the only podcast to officially create a list of the worst movies ever made. The only one. For real. Worst movies ever.
Worst movies ever. Hey, welcome to a new episode of Worst Movies Ever, and I want to do a little house cleaning here at the beginning of the episode to kind of let you know where we're at. For those of you that actually follow the podcast on a weekly basis, you could tell that we missed a week. Now, up until this point, we've been a weekly podcast, and I, in the past, have not particularly done well with that kind of schedule. And I think when I started this version of the podcast, I wanted to make a valiant effort to try and make that happen. Mostly because I wanted to see what kind of traction we could get and if I could actually do it, because I do enjoy doing this podcast, but I never want it to become a job. Especially when, I mostly just do this for shits and giggles, right? So over the last couple months, I've definitely felt burnout starting to happen. And I think starting now and going forward, I'm going to have a little bit more of a loose schedule with this podcast. And I hope you guys are okay with it. I don't plan on it being like a once a month kind of thing like what I do with the Patreon. But I don't know if me having a set schedule of every Wednesday is going to work for me personally. So I hope you guys are cool with that so we can continue the podcast, because I definitely don't want to burn out to the point where all of a sudden I just stop doing the podcast altogether, which could be a very real possibility. Podcasting is just one of those things that I do for fun, and I don't want it to be something that becomes a job, as I said before. So hopefully we can get back on track here. Don't expect this to be a weekly podcast for at least the near future. I'm going to more than likely kind of release this as I feel like it. So I hope you guys are cool with that. And today's episode was something where I kind of struggled a little bit. One, I was really excited to do this episode because a listener had sent me, and a dear friend and an old friend sent me a copy of today's movie, Arena, made in 1989, the new Arrow Blu-ray that had come out, and it's just fucking beautiful. I'll just put that out there, and thank you, dear listener and dear friend, for sending me this, because I had such a good time watching this thing. But also, it's kind of one of these movies where I don't really have a ton to say about it. So I was kind of burnout in the fact that, you know what, sometimes I tend to, and you guys have noticed that have been on, like the Worst Movies Ever Instagram or are part of the Patreon or the Facebook group, know that I tend to book these like a month in advance, all of the episodes. So I kind of know what I'm going to be watching and when I'm going to be watching it. And I think I just got to a place where I was like, man, I don't want to force myself to have to do these episodes and talk about things just because I scheduled them, especially when, honestly, and you guys might have a lot to say about this movie, I really don't have, this isn't going to be a super long episode today, because Arena is a good fucking movie that really was just enjoyable in a way that my brain kind of just turned off to it and just had a good time. It was hard for me to be critical of it. If you guys aren't familiar with what this movie is, it's an old Empire Picture movie. Empire Pictures were full moon before Full Moon was made. So, the Band brothers are part of this, not the director, but they definitely had a piece to do with this, including the soundtrack for this movie. But in general, this movie is kind of just like, what if you took Star Wars and other 80s like low budget sci-fi spectacle movies and mixed it with Bloodsport? That's all it is. There's really nothing much to this movie. The plot of the movie we're going to be talking about today, Arena, is a humanoid earthling fighter beats up a promoter's best monster fighter and gets the chance to live his dream, which is to fight in the Intergalactic Arena, a Bloodsport fighting tournament. And hijinks ensue. That's really all there is to this fucking movie. There isn't much. We'll get to the good, the bads, and the what the fucks and some of my thoughts on like the film itself. But in general, if you are into mid to low budget sci-fi fighting movies, you'll love this movie. I was a little worried because I hadn't seen this thing in years, in a really long time, that it wouldn't hold up to what when I first watched this way back in the day, how I felt about it. And I gotta say, my verdict today is when it comes to primo 80s Empire sci-fi flicks, this ranks up there amongst the best. It's hokey, but it's literally a blast from start to finish. And if you are familiar with like how Star Wars would just have a lot of humanoid aliens that spoke in different languages, and there were cantina bar sequences where all these monsters would get together and hang out and then fight and act like they all, exist in the same space and get along and speak to each other in languages. You'll get into this. It was honestly, I was really surprised coming back to this how much I enjoyed it. Let's get to the good, the bads, and the what the fucks.
What is good?
The major good of this movie, beyond the fact that the scale of this low budget movie, and I mean, this is not, your typical Hollywood budget. The scale of this film is staggering. It mostly takes place on a space station in the middle of space and kind of like a hub for all these other planets and these other alien races to come together and just exist. And it has this, at the center of it, the galaxy's favorite sport, which is the arena, where these monsters get together and like almost like UFC style and fight each other. And the monsters are fucking ridiculous in this movie. The pre-CGI charm of its practical effects mixed with the map paintings and all of the monsters and the sets, it blows your fucking mind if you know anything about low budget film production. I don't know exactly what the budget of this thing was, but as I watched this thing, I was like, how the fuck did they pull this off on what I'm guessing is a very small budget? Because there is just like the fight sequences that are taking place in this arena. I'm sure some of it was like comped together with like taking what looks like hundreds, if not thousands of like extras and just duplicating them and putting them in matte paintings. And like all of the special effects in this movie for what it is are amazing. Mind you, when you watch the Blu-ray of this, the scenes do show, but I gotta be honest, I didn't really see a lot of them. I was just so engrossed in the fact that there was like the practical monster effects in the outfits, because some of these monsters, or these aliens, I should say, go from humanoid type monsters, like there's a bull cyborg fighter, to almost humongous, and this will get to the bads, humongous fucking like spider-like monsters that our lead, who is a human, has to try and fight. It's pretty crazy. And there's just so many people like extras that are in this movie that, man, you gotta give thumbs up to this thing. And another good I have for this is it's one of the Band brothers. I think it's Richard Band might have done the soundtrack for this. It is a classic 80s synth style sci-fi soundtrack, and I just fucking loved it. And if you dig that soundtrack, you're going to get into the real like late 80s, early 90s sci-fi low budget vibe of this flick. If you're into stuff like, did you like Robot Jox? Did you like some of the other sci-fi movies that Full Moon had put out? You'll be totally into this. And I might get some people that'll fight me on this motherfucker. This might be the best one. Because I don't really think there's any weak parts to this movie. It's just a good time from start to finish. There's no real lag in the story. Yeah, the acting for what it is. I mean, there's no huge names in this movie for the most part, but it's solid. And the movie just absolutely flies the fuck by. Also, if you get this Arrow Blue, it is so vibrant and full of color that this movie really holds up, which was shocking to me. I didn't think it would, but it definitely does. And my final good, and I said this was going to be a pretty short episode today, there is a wonderful shitty dummy fall near the end of this movie. And my God, all you have to, if I haven't told you this before, and I believe I have, all you have to do to impress me and get me all the way in on a movie is have a solid shitty dummy. And they fucking did it. Let's get to the bads.
What is bad?
The dialogue in this movie from an audio, like a technical audio standpoint, at times is a little spotty and kind of showcases a little bit of the lower budget. Like the mix isn't particularly great in the mic placement and some of that. You can tell it's a little roomy and not as good as what the soundtrack is putting it up. You know, there's just a little discrepancy there. The fights. Let's get to the fights of this movie, which mostly our lead character is a humanoid that came from Earth, that grew up watching the arena and dreamed someday of being in this alien monster fighting arena and becoming the champion. He like dedicated his entire life to it. And eventually over time that, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just trying to remember this. He got injured at some point and then that dream kind of got squashed and he wound up on the space station to initially become part of the arena and honor the former humanoid champions of the past. But he has to fight monsters that are like 3 times his size, and all of the fights are pretty shitty and unbelievable, to say the least. They're all so much bigger, which is kind of dumb. You know, the movie is literally centered around these fights, and the fights are just not shot well. And they aren't edited particularly well. And they just look ridiculous because the guy, while he's buff and he's not a tiny dude, these monsters are fucking gargantuan. So there's no way you're believing that this guy is actually winning against these things. And then when he gets beat up, he just looks so fucking ridiculous the entire time. So if you can get past that and just enjoy the hijinks, yeah, you'll enjoy this thing. And my last bad for this movie has to be that this movie, even though I said that the practical special effects and the overall like comp work with the matte paintings and the practical stuff was good, there's some pretty spotty green screen at times, and it's mostly when we have like these cutouts to the closed circuit TV or the international TV or the interglobal TV, I should say, broadcast of these fights, when the announcer is talking with the shit behind him. It just doesn't look good. That didn't hold up. But for the most part, the rest of it looks fucking great. I regret that we're already to the what the fucks and we're only like 15 minutes in, but here we are.
What the fuck is that?
The only what the fuck I have for this movie concerns the actual Blu-ray that I have. And when the Blu-ray starts, it says that this movie was put together using the best available assets they had. Having said that, I'm curious as to the decision of why this movie was matted incorrectly. It's clear by just seeing the title and seeing some of the other credits that pop in and out that this isn't centered, and it's matted in a way for it to be full screen as opposed to maybe having a more CinemaScope look with its matting so that the entire image would be there. Maybe the image wasn't that good a quality on the one side from the sources they had. I don't know exactly what the reasoning is, but it once the movie starts, you don't notice it, but in the sequences in which there are credits, it's clear this isn't centered. And some of the credits get cut off on the side. And it just for me, it kind of, is a little bit of a bummer. If you can get past that, the film in the actual Blu-ray looks great. It's just a very curious decision that I wish would have been addressed on the Blu-ray. And I watched through all of the special features. Maybe it's on the commentary. I don't know. But nobody kind of makes reference to it whatsoever on there. So, but I would say if you're into this movie, the Blu-ray is highly fucking recommended by me. I think it's a great presentation. The special features, the interviews, aren't particularly edited well. In one of the interviews with the writer, feels like, and I think it goes on for 15 minutes, feels just like a lot of fucking nothing, just hot air. For the most part, he doesn't really talk about the movie at all. He mostly talks about his experience with the bands and with Empire Pictures and his experience that would lead him ultimately to not work with them anymore. And I didn't really fucking care. I just want to learn about the goddamn movie. So, I mean, the special features are what they are. They're okay. But that's all really. Like I said, I didn't have much to talk about with Arena. I give it an absolute thumbs up. And if you guys are into this kind of thing, do not hesitate. Please go check this out. It's totally worth your time. So that's all I got for this episode of Worst Movies Ever. As I said again, we will be releasing this version of the podcast as I get to it, which I'm hoping I at least get a few a month in for you guys. It's not going to necessarily be every Wednesday. It's going to be when I release it. So I hope that's okay with you guys. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you to all the people that have been reaching out to me, enjoying the podcast, and having conversations with me. Look in the show's notes on your podcast app or wherever you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this. And give me a call and talk to me and let me know what you think and about literally fucking anything. And next episode, I believe I'm going to be watching the Adam Green film Spiral. So that's what we got coming up next on Worst Movies Ever. I hope you guys are doing great, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Worst Movies Ever podcast is executive produced by Vaughn Kuhlmeyer and Shannon Smith. For more Worst Movies Ever, and to make the Doctor watch your worst movies ever, subscribe to the Worst Movies Ever Patreon at patreon.com/Worst Movies Ever. There you will get a monthly exclusive WME podcast plucked from the user-generated film list, randomized episode to episode. Until next time, celebrate trash at all costs. Toodles.